the Radio Today podcast with Jen Seyderhelm.
Hi, a special edition of the podcast this week to celebrate some big news. Radio Info and Radio Today, in partnership with media and marketing publication Mumbrella, have a new awards event for Australia's audio industry. Also joining the event as media sponsors is the Radio Rubber Room Facebook group. The Australian Audio Awards will include recognition for both radio and podcast talent, with an awards ceremony that will take place on the closing night of Mumbrella 360 at Carriageworks in Sydney on Thursday, May 28th, 2026. Radio entries will be open to commercial broadcasters and the public sector, including the ABC, SBS and community broadcasters. Podcast entries will be open to broadcast companies that publish podcasts, corporate podcast publishers and independent producers in two categories, major and independent. Radio Today's previous podcast awards will now become part of these new expanded audio awards. I caught up with Radio Info and Radio Today publisher Steve Ahern, who will lead the jury curation to find out more. Steve, it's lovely to catch up.
Thank you. Nice to be here in Canberra at the National Press Club just after Hugh Marks's speech about the ABC.
So tell me, these awards, this is going to be a whole new model because it's not only for commercial radio this time.
That's right. Well, with the announcement about the ACRAs no longer being awarded, it was a chance to start again for the audio industry, and so we at Radio Info and Radio Today started to get requests from our readers saying, you guys should help us do something. You're one of the few industry organisations who could make this happen. And so we started having talks, and there was indeed a groundswell of support for some awards to cover all of audio, radio, podcast. And the more I talked about it, the more people came out of the woodwork and said, we'd like to help. And, fantastic people like David at the Radio Facebook group and others. But the biggest one was Tim Burrowes at Mumbrella. So we have teamed up with Mumbrella, which makes it big. They run conferences, they run events. So there will be an awards. It's announced this week. And there will be an event next year in May 2026 where awards will be awarded in the categories of radio, podcasting and audiobooks. The big change is that it won't just be the commercial radio industry, it'll be all radio industry. So these awards, called the Australian Audio Awards, will be open to any radio station, any radio program or person who wants to enter, ABC, SBS, community radio if they want to, and of course commercial radio. There'll be a range of categories. We're keeping it smaller than the ACRAs, because it's different and we're reinventing it. So there'll be about 26, 27 awards across radio and podcasting, and anyone will be eligible to enter. Another difference between the way awards used to be done was that, like our Radio Today podcast awards have been, anyone can enter. So your boss doesn't have to enter you, your network doesn't have to enter you, you can enter you if you want to. Or companies and organisations can enter as well. So it's an open entry process, open to all the audio sectors. Now, we're towards the end of November. This is a time where people are thinking of their leave, where they're making best-of tapes of the programs for the last year to be played during the Christmas holiday period. And there's even Christmas holiday blooper tapes being made. I'm sure they're being made in every radio station around Australia. My message to you is, when you're making those tapes, choose your best 5 to 10 minutes and start to put it aside and prepare it for your entry in the Australian Audio Awards.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And the thing is that people will have been, all of this year, thinking about that, and then, of course, they've stopped thinking about it because the ACRAs weren't on. But this is the time, and entries are open.
Yes, entries open when the announcement is made, and the entry period, we've made it just over 18 months so that it covers the time from the end of entries to the previous ACRAs until the end of this year.
Yeah. And anything else that people need to be aware of with their entries that they should think about?
Yes, I'm chairman of the jury, and in talking to people who will be on the jury, a couple of the things that we thought were important for the future of Australia's audio industries are impact and the effect on building the industry. So in most of the categories, there will be a small element of impact. What impact did you have on your listeners, on the industry, on your radio station or whatever? We want to hear that because they're things that we should be proud of. We do a lot. I was listening to Hugh Marks talk about the effect on society that the ABC has. All media in Australia has a great effect, and we have a fantastic country, partly because we have independent, competitive media all doing a good job. So let's measure that. So that's one of the new criteria, apart from how good did you sound and what was your audience like and did you make a great breakfast show or did you ask a good question in an interview. All those things will be there. But impact on Australian society is one, and the other one is how did you help build the future of the audio industry?
Well, I can think of so many examples across all the genres of different shows or moments that have had impact on me, and I haven't even necessarily lived in that town or metro city that it's happened in. And this is your opportunity to take that moment and enter the awards, Steve. This is really exciting.
Yes, it is exciting, and what's fantastic is that we've been able to join with Mumbrella. So there's two rival publishers, I guess, joining together because we think it's important. And we've created something where we hope that all the rivals, the different sectors of audio and podcasting, will also realise it's important to just talk about the audio industry and compete. It's a bit like, great football teams. You play hard on the field, but in the end you have a drink together, you celebrate the game, and you act in the best interest of your code. Same approach for this awards in this industry.
Yep, we all care about the same thing. And so everybody, this is your moment to start thinking about your entries, getting them together and try and get them together before the end of this year for the awards that are in May. And then hopefully maybe we'll have a little drinky or event afterwards.
There will be an event. It will be part of the Mumbrella 360 conference in Sydney at Carriage Works. And amazing that Mumbrella has been able to integrate that, because of all the things that people were asking me and you and all of us in our comments on Radio Info Radio Today, we knew we could do some awards. We've done them for the podcast awards, which are now integrated into this. But doing an event is just too big. But Mumbrella has the scale to do that. So I'm so delighted that we're doing it together now, because there will be an event. That'll be the chance to frock up, as Bianca Dye says, show off, meet people, have that kind of just time to celebrate the success of the audio industry.
Mumbrella publisher Tim Burrowes, who co-presents the Medialand show on ABC Radio National, along with the Mumbrella cast and Unmade podcasts, added,
Yeah, one of the great things about this industry is that it's small enough that we do talk to each other, even when sometimes we're in competition. So when Steve and I realised that we were both working on quite similar ideas, it made really great sense to work together, because if there's a single sector of the media industry in Australia that is collegiate, it is the audio sector. So we're really pleased to work together on this and put together what hopefully will be the awards and the ceremony that the industry deserves.
Judging will take place in person in Sydney next year on the campus of Awards Supporter Afters. Further details and all the entry categories can be found at mumbrella.com.au-audio awards. That's mumbrella.com.au-audio awards. But Most importantly, entries are now open. We look forward to hearing your submissions, your best 5 minutes of audio, and good luck.
Radio Today with Jen Seyderhelm. Find more at radiotoday.com.au.
radiotoday.com.au